Your request for reinforcements is denied. My remaining frontline commands are needed to launch a counteroffensive that will force the Inner Sphere back on the defensive. I must hold garrison forces in reserve to exploit any advantage gained. The success of this plan is paramount to the survival of your command. Your proposal for a dynamic defensive line strategy is likewise denied. The other Khans are maneuvering to take advantage of our clan's misfortune. I expect a challenge, possibly within the next few weeks. The successes or failures of the 6th Dragoons reflect directly on me, and I will not have them look like weaklings cowering before our enemies. You will take the offensive and engage the forces of the false clan. See the attached file for my tactical advice. I expect confirmation of ex-Khan Felon's death within the week. When the clans arrived in the Inner Sphere, unique tactical doctrines, their advanced technology, and unique weapons of war made them seem alien in the eyes of those they conquered. Battlemechs like the Timberwolf, Marauder 2C, and Direwolf seemed to deliberately enhance that perception as holovids of the invasion spread across the Inner Sphere. Second-line clan mechs also contributed to this perception, as many of them served in multi-purpose roles before the invasion beyond just keeping the imposed peace. The Horned Owl, or Peregrine, depending upon your point of view, is one of those second-line clan battlemechs that was on track to becoming a superstar mech when it was first produced in the early 29th century. Unfortunately, in what has become a tragic yet familiar story, it was eclipsed by the development of OmniMech technology. Created by the fine engineers of Clan Goliath Scorpion and first produced in 2835, the Horned Owl has such a unique look that it baffled those in the Inner Sphere who first spotted it among the Tumen of Clan Ghostbear. Its curved and rounded armor looked extravagant for what amounted to a second-line garrison mech. While the benefits of sloped and rounded armor plating have been known for 1,000 years, the production of specialized armor for battlemechs was labor-intensive and expensive for manufacturers in the Inner Sphere. Add in the fact that the Horned Owl's armor was ferrofibrous only made the entire venture look absurdly expensive. The only justification that Inner Sphere analysts could come up with was that perhaps the clans had originally designed the Horned Owl for another purpose, perhaps in a deep water environment where the curved and rounded armor would prevent crushing. As it turned out, that analyst was spot on, as the Goliath Scorpions did originally design the Horned Owl to operate as a deep water construction mech, and it was only later repurposed for combat. Weighing just 35 tons, the Horned Owl looks beefier than it actually is due to its armor plating. It was constructed around a Coriolis Class 3B endosteel frame and Light Force 210 standard fusion engine. While the endosteel saved weight for use elsewhere, the standard 210 allowed the Horned Owl to run at a top speed of 97 km per hour, which was respectable while not going all in on the expensive XL engines. Much like the other second-line clan mechs, they don't necessarily get all the bells and whistles, as those XL engines don't yet grow on trees, and this was a time before Clan Seafox could magically conjure up whatever you needed on a whim. Clan Light Series Mark II jump jets allowed the Horned Owl to leap up to 180 meters, which is excellent for a machine that would end up regularly working behind lines, in enemy areas, and, much to the horror of the Smoke Jaguars, fighting for their very lives from those vengeful dragons. 5 tons of ferrofibrous armor provide 96 points of protection, which is just a half a ton shy of what a newer 35-ton Cougar OmniMech would carry into the fray. While it is a full ton and a half shy of what could have been added, the mech designers were clearly relying upon the jump jets and running speed to keep the mech out of harm's way. That ton and a half would be needed elsewhere. In the left and right arms, the Horned Owl carried a pair of Calibri Omega series medium pulse lasers. These accurate and powerful mid-range weapons hit way above their weight at only 2 tons apiece and were equally as effective against infantry and armor as they were against opposing battlemechs. Alas, the medium pulse lasers would end up playing second fiddle to the Horned Owl's 10,000-degree Kerber stare located in its center torso. The mech's primary weapon was a Calibri Delta Series large pulse laser, which could fire a very accurate 10 damage out to ranges that would mystify Inner Sphere opponents shortly before setting them and their possessions on fire. With 10 double heat sinks, the Horned Owl was technically heat neutral so long as the Mechwarrior only jumped fewer than 3 hexes. If the mech was pushed to leap the full 6 hexes and fired all 3 lasers, it would overtax the heat sinks by 4 points. That is fortuitous, as the drawbacks of excessive heat begin at 5+ heat, so in the case of an emergency when Mechwarriors needed that second medium pulse laser damage, it didn't put the Horned Owl into peril. The 24-point alpha strike on a -2 to hit roll is stellar, and Scarinci help its enemies if they ran into more than one of these stalking around the backfield looking for shots on rear armor. Overall, this original Horned Owl is an efficient and potent design. The stabilized weapon quirk for the large pulse laser is an added boost, and a sleek design is even aided by retractable covers for the lasers to prevent grime and other contaminants from gunking up the weapons. The Horned Owl ended up on the tumens of several different clans, but saw particular popularity among the second-line forces of Clan Smoke Jaguar. In 2856, they ended up using the mech as a platform for a fire support model on their own production lines on Huntress, akin to the Baboon, which yanked the pulse lasers in exchange for 6 LRM-5s split evenly between the left and right torso. This was a significant shift in the mech's mission statement, but it is an interesting attempt to create a 35-ton fire support design. Personally, it's not a mech I'd be keen on taking into battle unless it was all that was sitting in the mech bay. In 3061, Clan Ghost Bear engineers took their shot at crafting a Horned Owl variant on production lines located within their Inner Sphere holdings. It retains the core structure, but swaps out the pulse lasers to create a head-hunting sniper design. In the center torso, an ER-PPC can reach out to 23 hexes, and its aim is aided by the addition of a targeting computer. For clearing out infantry and light vehicles, the Horned Owl 3 carries 6 light machine guns split evenly between the left and right arms. A half-ton of ammunition is held in the right torso and protected by case. As far as variants from the original design go, the Horned Owl 3 is an attractive option. Before a fourth variant of the Horned Owl could be developed, all heck broke loose within the Smoke Jaguar occupation zone with the surprise attack by the fledgling 2nd SLDF in Operation Bulldog. The Smoke Jaguars were caught off guard in a stunning series of raids that went better than even the most optimistic Inner Sphere projections. Many second-line mechs, including the Horned Owl, were thrust into frontline duty in a desperate attempt to hold back the wrath of the Coalition Inner Sphere forces. Unfortunately for the Smoke Jaguars, not even the aid of the plucky Horned Owl could stop the combined wrath of the 2nd SLDF, and as we know, the Smoke Jaguars would ultimately end up being almost entirely wiped out. Thankfully, the story of the Horned Owl continues when Goliath Scorpion swooped in and claimed the former Jaguar production lines on the abysmal continent on Huntress. Control of the manufacturing complex gave the Goliath Scorpions valuable technical data, along with the capacity to produce new light mechs. They took immediate advantage, updating the line and creating an updated version of the Horned Owl. Though originally intended to be a limited run as a proof of concept and to refine the manufacturing process, the Horned Owl 4 gained popularity. All of the mech's internal bits remain the same, but again, the pulse lasers have been swapped out in favor of a new weapon system. The Advanced Tactical Missile System was created by Clan Coyote and became all the rage for Clan mechs following its spread across Clan Tumens in the early 3060s. The Horned Owl 4 would feature 4 ATM-3 launchers split between the left and right arms, with 3 tons of weight devoted to ammunition. Should said ammunition run out, a single ER medium laser located in the center torso would provide at least nominal defense. The versatility of the ATM-3 launchers does create a lot of possible uses for the Horned Owl 4, and that was likely the biggest draw for the design. As a close-range brawler, the possible alpha strike damage is 36 plus the ER medium laser 7, which is excellent for a 35-ton battlemech. On the other end of the spectrum, the long-range munition would be the equivalent of an LRM-12, which isn't stellar, but it could still be a nasty weapon in conjunction with other fire support mechs. It's not going to overheat on you, and if you want a balanced setup, the 3 tons of ammunition allows you to split it evenly between all 3 types of ammo if you want. Though a Goliath Scorpion design, the Horned Owl 4 didn't take off with their own warriors, but instead became an export item to the other clans. Many were shipped to Clan Snowraven, who then in turn passed them to Clan Bloodspirit during the period of their close cooperation. The multi-use role of the Horned Owl 4 was determined to make up for the cost of the specialty ammunition among the Bloodspirit Tumen. At the time, they were fighting for their lives against the Star Adders, and any advantage they could gain was appreciated. 2 years later, in 3066, what has been described as the variant of the Horned Owl 4 became popular among the warriors of Goliath Scorpion. It pulled the ATM launchers and ER medium laser back out of the mech and replaced them with an ER large laser in each arm and a medium heavy laser in the center torso. Now, while it does have one additional heatsink, the Horned Owl 5 is a twisty boy. Firing that 2 ER large lasers will result in a +2 heat at the end of the turn without doing any jump jetting. While that is manageable, the Horned Owl's lifespan may end up being cut short if you don't utilize those jump jets. There is some question of risk tolerance here, but I'm wary of these kinds of builds that make even a modest use of your weapons into a heat issue. Adding in the fire from the medium-heavy laser makes the problem much worse, as it would push you up to a +9 heat, which opens Pandora's box for a litany of movement and shooting issues. Now obviously you wouldn't be alpha striking with the Horned Owl 5 in normal circumstances, but it is worth mentioning just in case you look at that 30 damage alpha as a possibility. Yes, it's something you could do. Is it something you should do? Very rarely. No matter what I think, apparently the Goliath Scorpion Mechwarriors loved the Horned Owl 5, so more power to them. In 3088, the Horned Owl finally went airborne in a 7th official variant with the installation of a partial wing. While the jumping was improved to 7 hexes, the mech's engine was downgraded to a 5.8 speed to buy enough weight to make it happen. It isn't a terrible trade-off, as you're likely going to be jumping a lot anyway, but it's good to know. In the center torso, an ER large laser is going to be doing the bulk of the work, out to 25 hexes, but at the mid and short range, a medium pulse laser in each arm aids in peeling away armor with accurate fire. All 3 lasers are aided by the installation of a targeting computer. That -3 to the 2 hit rolls for the pulse lasers can make a huge difference when in a fight with another fast light mech. Finally, a tag system makes an appearance in the mech's head critical slot. It's nice to see on a light mech, even though the Horned Owl doesn't really fit that role of a scout. The 10 double heat sinks are adequate for normal running and gunning, but a full jump of 7 hexes along with an alpha strike will put the mech at +4 heat, factoring in the -3 heat from the use of the partial wing. Close-in brawling may require laying off the ER large laser and focusing on jumping and the use of the 2 medium pulse lasers. Now you might be asking, MechFrog, I know you went to public school, but I'm fairly sure that the number order goes 5, 6, then 7, and I would assume that you're correct because, as you said, I went to public school and I can't be totally sure about such things. In this case, the Horned Owl's 6th variant is our Dark Age variant, which started showing up in 3132. Now, this is a tough one for me because this variant pulls the jump jets from the design entirely. I'll give you a minute to recover here. Just don't get distracted, okay? You good? Alright, let's continue. So what do we get in return for pulling the jump jets and drastically reducing the agility of the Horned Owl? Well, you get the original loadout with the center torso large pulse laser and 2 medium pulse lasers split between the arms, and a targeting computer. That's it. Of all the variants, I dislike our Dark Age variant the most because it trades a very good thing for a marginally good thing. You're already getting the -2 on the pulse lasers, and additional -1 is not going to make or break your shots in a way that not being able to jump toward your target or away from a threat can make or break you. You're free to disagree, but this is a bargain I just cannot abide by. Of all of the variants, I think the original Horned Owl loadout is the hardest to improve upon. The 3 went a long way to make a potent sniping light mech, and the 4 created a flexible if ammo-dependent fighter. But ultimately, it's difficult to fight the allure of the clan large pulse laser doing what it does best, burning your enemies to a crisp. Of course, I'm going to roll up my proverbial sleeves here for a MechFrog variant. However, this one's going to be a little bit of a challenge, as I really do love that original loadout and the previously mentioned alternatives. Let's see what we can do with it. Going into it with the plan of making a mech a more devoted hunter-killer of other lights and infantry, because apparently I hate infantry, that's just the rumor going around, I ended up pulling the large pulse laser from the center torso, even though I just finished talking about how alluring it is. How's that for a plot twist? In its place in the center torso, I added a 3rd medium pulse laser to make up for at least some of the DPS lost, and in the other slot, a supercharger is going to push the Horned Owl MF up to a temporary 6-12-6 movement profile. With the remaining tonnage, I added a couple of small pulse lasers split between the left and right torso. Oh, and 1 additional double heatsink, bringing the total to 11. While lacking a long-range option, the MF is quite nasty for short-range fighting. The possible alpha strike damage on the pulse laser medley is 27, which is more than enough to make problems for lighter targets and even the rear armor of bigger prey. The heat is manageable too, with only a +2 at the end of the turn if you fire everything and jump the full 6 hexes. Being able to do that twice before your negatives start to pile up is really nice. After that, if you drop 1 of the small pulse lasers, you'll be at heat neutral for a 3rd turn. Not too shabby. So I'm curious what you think of the MF version, the standard variants, and I want to know which one you would take into battle. If you're a fan of the Horned Owl, do you use it as a scout or a hunter of lights, what role do you see for it? It's an easy call for me to say I love the Horned Owl because it's a solid 35-tonner that's just hard to improve upon, yet still has some really interesting variant options as you march down the timeline. Only a couple are a bit too niche for my style, but I'm sure there's someone out there that loves them because of it, and that's great too. Keep rocking, Horned Owl. As always, thank you for coming by to talk some BattleTech. We're getting so very close to that 10,000 subscriber mark, which is pretty cool to see. I'm looking forward to doing an HBS BattleTech stream to celebrate. We can hang out, talk BattleTech, answer questions about the channel or the process for making these videos, whatever you want to talk about. If you aren't able to make the live stream but you still want to submit a question anyway, feel free to add it to the list here at the bottom of the video. I've got a growing list to tackle, and of course you'll be welcome to share it on the day if you are able to show up. If numbers hold for the rest of the week, we may do it on Friday or Saturday, kind of depends on how well this video does for the old subscriber count. I hope to see you then. If you hit that like and subscribe button, it lets YouTube know that it's a video worth sharing with others. Until next time, take care, and please go make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.